You're looking at the finished version of the monthly budget you're about to build. It's already open on screen with item in cell A1 and cost in cell B1. The four expense rows underneath are rent at $950, utilities at $180, internet at $70, and groceries at $320. The total at the bottom reads $1,520, and the average reads $380. Those two bottom numbers are formulas, not typed amounts. That means if you change rent next month, the total and average recalculate the moment you press enter. I'm opening a new tab and going to sheets.google.com. That takes us to the Google Sheets start page. I'm clicking the blank spreadsheet tile near the top. If your start page looks different, the blank option is the plain white sheet icon, and I'd skip the expense report templates because they add extra columns and hidden rows for a one-person budget. I also name the file before any data goes in. Untitled spreadsheet is how you end up with 6 tabs open and no idea which one has the rent. The order here is create the file, name it, add the 2 headers, enter the real expense rows, and only then write the total and average formulas. I deliberately put the formulas last because they point at the exact range B2 through B5, and that range means nothing until those 4 costs are sitting in the cells. The new sheet opens with a blank grid. Cell A1 is already selected. The title in the top left says Untitled Spreadsheet. Click that title once. The text turns into an editable field, and the old name is highlighted so you can type straight over it without deleting anything first. Type monthly budget. Press enter. The browser tab now shows the new name, and that's your signal that the file is saved as monthly budget. There's no separate save button in Google Sheets. If you click away before typing, just click the title again and the edit field comes back. Now we'll set the headers. Click cell A1 if it's not already active, type item, press tab. That jumps straight to cell B1 instead of making you click it. Type cost, press enter. The row now has 2 labels. I keep them short on purpose. A long header like monthly payment would stretch column B before there's any data, and short headers keep the range easier to read when you write formulas later. Now the expense rows. Click cell A2, type rent, press tab. Type 950, press enter. That's the first row. Click cell A3, type utilities, press tab. Type 180, press enter. Click cell A4, type internet, press tab. Type 70, press enter. Click cell A5, type groceries, press tab. Type 320. Press enter. I put rent at the top because it's the largest number, so the moment the other numbers land, the total is going to look predictable. You can use your own amounts, but keep them all as plain numbers with no dollar signs for now. We'll add the currency formatting next, and the formulas handle plain numbers without any extra cleanup. If you type a dollar sign inside the cell, Google Sheets may treat it as text depending on your locale, and then your sum won't see that value. Each time you press enter after an amount, the selection drops 1 row below, which is exactly where the next label goes. Before the formulas, I'm going to auto-fit the columns. Click the A at the top of column A, hold Shift and click the B at the top of column B. Both columns are now highlighted. Move your pointer to the right edge of the B column header on the boundary between B and C. The cursor changes to a left-right arrow. Double-click the border, not the column letter itself. Both columns snap out to fit the widest value in each one. That's faster than dragging edges, and it means you're not sitting there guessing how wide groceries should be. If you double-click the wrong gap, press Ctrl-Z to undo and do it again on the line between B and C. The column letters have to match the columns you selected, otherwise you get one perfectly sized column and one still clipped. Now we need the total. Click cell A6, type total, press enter. Click cell B6, type equals sum, open parentheses B2, B5, close parentheses, press enter. The cell now shows 1520. The formula bar above still holds the formula, but the cell displays the result. I use B2 through B5 and not B1 through B5 because B1 is the header cost. Keeping the header out of the range makes the formula read exactly like the 4 cost, no extra label trapped in there. If typing the range feels slow, you can type equals sum, open parentheses, then drag over B2 through B5 and press enter, but for 4 rows I'd rather type the range and keep my hands moving. If the formula ever shows as plain text instead of a number, double-click the cell and check that the first character is the equal sign. Next, the average. Click cell A7, type average, press enter. Click cell B7, type equals average, open parentheses, B2, B5, close parentheses, press enter. 380 appears. Same range, second formula, and it gives me a quick reality check. If the average ever looks too high, one of these rows is out of line. The average function divides the total by the count of numeric cells in the range, and right now that count is 4. If one of those cells were blank, the average would silently divide by 3, which is why I entered all 4 values before writing either formula. The total would still work, but the average would quietly show the wrong number. Now the budget is live. Click cell B2 and change rent to 1000. Press enter. The total jumps to $1,570, and the average becomes $392.50. That's the whole point of formulas instead of typed values. I'll press Ctrl-Z to put rent back to $950. The total and average return to $1,520 and $380. The structure is done and the numbers respond exactly the way they should. Now this sheet is ready to format because the hard part, the actual math, is already working. The totals are sitting there, but they don't look like money yet. 1735 just reads as a raw number, and that makes the whole sheet harder to scan. So we'll clean up the cost column first, then make row 1 actually behave like a header. Click cell B2, the rent amount. Hold Shift and click B6, the total. That selects rent, groceries, utilities, subscriptions, and the total in one block. I'm leaving B7 out on purpose because the average cell is where I want to show you what the percent button really does. With those 5 cells selected, go to the toolbar above the sheet and click the dollar sign. It's sitting right next to the percent sign. The moment you click it, the selected numbers switch to currency format. $1,200 becomes $1,200, and the total becomes $1,735. If you glance at the formula bar, nothing there changes. That's because formatting is just a display layer. The cell still holds the real number, so any formula that references B6 still uses 1735, not the text you see. That's exactly what you want. That dollar sign button follows the locale of your spreadsheet. So if your Google account is set to the UK, it might show a pound symbol, and that's still the same button doing the same job. And if the dollar signs sit on the left side of each cell, that's normal for this format. The actual numbers stay on the right. It makes a column of money much easier to read because the symbols line up instead of jumping around. Now click B7, the average. It's still unformatted. Go back to the toolbar and click the percent button, the one right next to the dollar sign. This is where it gets interesting. The cell changes to 43,375%. That looks broken, but it isn't. The percent button took 433.75 and multiplied it by 100 for display. It doesn't convert the number to a percentage in the way most people expect. It assumes the value is already a fraction, like 0.05, and it shows that fraction as 5%. Since our value is already a whole number, it turns into a giant percentage. I never use the percent button on a money average. Click the dollar button again to put the average back to currency. The cell now reads $433.75, and the formula bar still shows the original average formula exactly as it was. No data was harmed. While we're on money, if your totals ever show too many decimals, there's a pair of buttons next to the percent sign on the toolbar. One increases decimal places and one decreases them. The decrease button is the one with a decimal and a small arrow pointing left. For a budget, 2 decimals is the sweet spot. You can click it once to take the average from, say, 433.75 to 433.7, but I'd click the other way to keep the sense. It's a small thing, but a column with 3 or 4 different decimal lengths looks sloppy. Now let's fix the header. Row 1 still looks like the rest of the sheet. Item and cost are just sitting there with no weight. Click the row number 1 on the far left edge. That selects the entire row across the whole sheet, not just A1 and B1. A lot of people drag across A1 and B1 instead, and that works for the formatting, but selecting the row number is faster, and it means any cell you add later in row 1 already has the same treatment. With row 1 selected, click the bold button in the toolbar, it's the letter B. The text thickens, then click the fill color button, the tipping paint can. A palette opens, pick a light gray, maybe 4 or 5 squares in. I stay light because black text on a light gray band stays readable. If you pick a dark blue or a heavy green, the contrast drops and the header gets harder to scan. After that, click the Center Align button. It's in the same cluster as the Align Left and Align Right icons, usually with 3 small horizontal lines. Click the middle one, both labels center under the gray band, and suddenly they look like column headers instead of just the first 2 cells. Now the freeze. That's the part that makes the header useful as the sheet grows. Click the View menu at the very top of the window. It's in the menu bar above the toolbar. Click View. In the drop-down, hover over Freeze. A side menu opens, click the one that says 1 row. As soon as you do, a thin gray line appears just below row 1. That line is the freeze marker. Everything above it stays pinned to the top of the screen, and everything below it scrolls. The header will not move. Let's test it. Grab the scroll bar on the right side and drag down. You might not have many rows below the data yet, so drag far enough to see blank rows appear. Watch row 1. It stays there, sitting above that gray line, while the rest of the sheet slides underneath it. That's the whole point of freezing. You can add 100 more expense rows later and still see item and cost while you're working at the bottom of the sheet. If you ever want to remove it, the same View menu, Freeze, has no rows at the top. Click that, the line disappears, and row 1 scrolls normally again. But for a monthly budget, I'd keep the freeze on. One thing to notice, the currency formatting didn't change the column width. If a value now looks crowded or the dollar sign seems pushed against the next column, that's a width problem. The number format and the column width are separate settings. We'll deal with that next, because the item labels also need more room before we add new rows. I'm moving to the top right now, to the big blue Share button. Click it. The Share dialog opens over the budget. This controls who can get into this file and how much they can change. Google Sheets sharing is not sending a copy. It is giving someone a live window into this exact spreadsheet, so any total you update later shows up in their view too. That matters for a budget because you don't want 2 different versions floating around. Click into the Add People in Groups box. Type Jordan at example.com. Google may start matching contacts while you type. If the wrong Jordan appears, click the small X next to the name to remove them. I'm entering the full address so there's no guesswork. Now glance at the drop-down to the right of the address. Google sets it to editor by default. That's too much access for almost everyone. Click it. The menu opens and I'm pointing at commenter first. The little permission note under the address switches to can comment, now editor. It switches to can edit. But the level I want here is viewer, so I'm clicking that. The note changes to can view. Jordan can open the sheet, read every total and print it, but he cannot touch a single cell. That's the level you want for a reviewer. Commenter is the middle position. It lets him leave notes on specific cells, which is useful when he has questions. It still keeps your formulas locked. Editor is the one that lets him actually type over your numbers and formulas. If someone in the household or on the team is going to help update the budget, give them editor. If they are only looking at it, viewer is the safe default. Now click into the message box below the address. Type March monthly budget, totals are at the bottom. That text goes into the email Google sends, so the invite doesn't look like a random link. A blank message here is how invites get ignored or reported as spam. Below that, leave the notify people checkbox turned on. That switch is what actually sends the email. If you switch it off, the person only finds the file if they dig through shared with me later, and most people will not. Click send. The dialog closes and the sheet is back in front of you. That invite is already in his inbox. I'm clicking the share button once more to confirm the access took. The dialog opens and Jordan is sitting in the shared people list with a viewer badge next to him. That's the paper trail. Click the X to close the dialog. Now I'm moving to file in the top left. Click it. The menu drops down. Point at download. A side menu opens. Before I click anything, I'm checking that the sheet is still named monthly budget because that exact title becomes the file name on the download. If it still said untitled spreadsheet, this is where you would get an untitled spreadsheet file. Choose Microsoft Excel. That's the Excel file type. The browser saves a copy to your downloads. You'll see the download bar appear at the bottom of the browser. The file lands there with the same name as the sheet. This is the version to send when someone actually works in Excel or when they need the file outside Google Sheets. The Excel copy is a snapshot of the live sheet. If someone edits the downloaded file, it does not change the Google Sheet and the other way around. That's the trade-off, convenience for them and a second version for you to keep an eye on. Conveniently is loading that downloaded file now from the downloads bar. Click it, it launches, and I'm checking the things that matter. The header fill is still there, the bold labels are still bold. The currency symbols came through in the cost column. Now click the total cell at the bottom of the cost column. The formula bar shows the sum formula is still live. That means the export kept the calculation instead of flattening it to a number. This is the check before you send anything. Open the file and look at the totals, not just the file name. If a number were off, you'd catch it now instead of apologizing later. And because you froze row 1 earlier, the header row stays visible in Excel too. If your copy opens in protected view because it came from the internet, click Enable Editing at the top. The sheet is fine. I'm closing Excel now and going back to the live Google Sheet. I'm switching back to the Google Sheets tab. Go back up to File, click it, point at Download again. This time choose PDF document. A small export dialog opens over the sheet. This is where people end up with an ugly second page because Google defaults the export to portrait. That spills the last column off the right edge. I'm switching the orientation to landscape. Then I'm finding the scale dropdown and setting it to fit to width. That pulls every column onto one page without shrinking the text into nothing. Paper size is already set to letter. If you're outside the US, set that to a 4. The export range stays on current sheet because this workbook only has the one tab. Now look for the grid lines option and switch it off. The header already has a fill color, so the export looks cleaner without the faint cell borders. Look at the preview in the export dialog. It should now show one page, nothing hanging off the right side. Click Download. The PDF file lands next to the Excel file in Downloads. Open that PDF now. There's the single page budget, the header row at the top, the fill color intact, the dollar signs in the cost column, and the total sitting right at the bottom, nothing cut off. That's the one you attach to an email or drop into a finance review. Nothing in this version is editable, which is exactly why you send it for sign-off. And because you use fit to width, you don't send them a second blank page to scroll through. The PDF is also the safer format when the person does not need to change anything because it cannot carry a formula that someone accidentally breaks. I'm closing the PDF viewer now so the finished budget is the last thing on screen. That's the full share and export workflow. You've got the live Google Sheet, an Excel copy for anyone who needs to edit, and a PDF for clean sign-off. If this got you through your first budget, hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment saying this was helpful. Comments are what push this to other people looking for the same thing.